Weird. In an age where I loathe sequel after sequel alongside sequel reboots and just rehash stories after rehash story, one studio will always rise above all to actually allow weirdo filmmakers to make weirdo films. No movie has exemplified that in this day and age than this one. Everything, everywhere, all at once. From the ashes comes an actual original take on a formula that is actually picking up some steam in recent years due to, of all studios, Marvel, the idea of a multiverse. I never knew this movie was coming out, nor did I see any promotional material for it. I just saw the original trailer recommended to me, but I never bothered to watch it at the time because I didn't even know the filmmakers that were involved with it, and I had to catch up with a bunch of other A24 movies at the time. A few weeks ago, I was driving and listening to the Swiss Army soundtrack, as one does when they feel the daily sensation of existential dread. Oh yeah, it feels so good. And I thought to myself, man, when are those Daniel guys going to make another movie? Creepy coincidence, upon meeting up with my friends that very night, I was recommended this movie, being told that it was directed by Daniels, of all people. From the recommendation, I finally got the push to go out and see a movie supporting two directors and writers that have created some of my favorite narratively driven stories in recent years. Ever, actually. So with the original feature film Swiss Army Man back in 2016, it came out at a time in my life where I really needed it for my soul, for my mind, for my heart, for everything internal. Such a weird and beautiful take tackling the different themes of what makes life shitty and what makes life so precious. It tackles dark, nihilistic comedy with genuine, sentimental, heartfelt drama. It is a very difficult formula to do for sure. I've certainly tried it many times, but when it lands for you, it lands really hard, and it can be a very life-changing and life-enhancing experience for sure. I may do an actual in-depth review of Swiss Army Man one day. Why not? I might. These guys definitely came onto the map for me when it came to exploring their older work prior to that feature film, and they have directed and worked on many music videos prior. There's certainly a lot of similarities that you can tell, even with this new one. They certainly have a certain taste in style of comedy, and style of physical comedy, and just style in implementing several different themes. Oh boy, did this one really drain my brain in the end though. It felt like when I first watched a little television show called Richard and Marty, I believe that's what it's called, with its concepts of interdimensional travel as well as its themes in nihilistic nature and that nothing matters and how we're all going to die. So try to find value and meaning in the littlest menial things in our lives that only mean something to us and us only. Definitely one of the most thought-provoking movies I've seen in quite a few amount of years. For those who haven't seen any promotional material about it, just go into it blindly and just let the movie speak for itself. To even attempt to summarize the plot without spoilers is going to be quite a challenge. I'm going to try it anyways. A middle-aged laundromat owner goes through a midlife crisis. Her marriage is on the brink of divorce. Her final attempts to impress her father are futile. Her relationship with her college daughter is growing distant. And to top it all off, she is dealing with tax season as a self-employed business owner. May God have mercy on her soul. Just as it seems no hope can be found left in her life, a duplicate versions of the faces she knows appear one after another, taking her on a high adrenaline / action stake adventure where she is the chosen one and must access the abilities of all her other multidimensional selves to defeat an evil entity that has possessed a version of her daughter from a different reality. Caught on? Confused yet? Good. Again, I say it, if you've seen any episode of Richard and Marty, then you are certainly going to have an advantage here. So that's the most I am going to explain and plot here. Because delving deeper into this rabbit hole will just be doing a disservice to the writers of this movie, who were also the directors. Both Daniel Quan and Daniel sorry man, I can't pronounce your last name. They both co-written and co-directed this. I can't imagine what a nightmare a project like this would be if it had different writers and different directors. It would be absolutely grueling. Because both the visuals and action set pieces are extremely explicit and extremely detailed. So the biggest selling point for me for this movie was the choreography mixing with the cinematography, to where it presented so many creative shot compositions and so much sleek camera work. Both complement each other and brought together set pieces that look on par of music video quality. I mean, this is the only second feature from this duo, but already at this point, it's very clear if you've seen their prior work that they have an established style. Most definitely the ragdoll physics that they like to incorporate in all their movies. It has been present in literally everything they have made so far, or at least damn near everything they've made so far. So go out and see all their previous work if this one really entertained you. To me, that sort of visual gag will always be funny. Not to spoil anything too much, but something, you know, involving a dog in a leash certainly made me laugh probably the hardest in the theater. The amount of action set pieces brought back a technique introduced by the great Jackie Chan, where we see our characters fighting in combat with unconventional items that you usually wouldn't see people use in combat. So everyday household items, everyday office supplies, and it is so much fun to watch. When these combat scenes weren't used for comedic purposes, they were actually pretty exhilarating and pretty brutal to watch. Epic uses of slow motion and panoramic shots in the action sequences. Also notice that they change aspect ratios as the fight scenes are about to take place, which is a really neat touch. The amount of creative colors and creative visual effects, such as layering different takes on top of each other during these interdimensional travel sessions, to the utter sheer speed of the cuts presented, again, much that of music videos, makes those transitions from one multiverse to another just feel so much more impactful and so much more exciting than it would be if it wasn't edited to this degree. You can tell that there's so much care and passion put into this. Holy moly, I cannot imagine how one would even pitch an idea like this to an editor. Now, to play devil's advocate, the elements that didn't work for me in the movie. The film's faults for me were with the story's themes. It's not that the themes were too convoluted or didn't make any sense to me, even though there were a few elements in the story's plot that took me some time to understand, or even I still don't fully understand yet, particularly involving trigger points for accessing one's interdimensional abilities, as well as a central theme involving a bagel towards the end. It just felt like the script was just juggling too many themes for me. By the end, I didn't feel as engaged in all of the multiple separate themes that we got, as opposed if Daniel stuck with attempting to tell less themes and tell the audience less life lessons. Interesting enough, this movie reminded me actually of a short that these same directors directed many years ago, even before Swiss Army Man. It's called Interesting Ball. The whole thing is up on YouTube now. I'll link it down below if you want to check it out. It's only 15 minutes long. The themes and emotions I got from watching this movie are similar to what I felt in Interesting Ball. Only thing in that Interesting Ball, it managed to tell similar themes to me, at least, in literally a fraction of the time, which is pretty impressive for a short film. It just felt at a certain point, this movie in particular, felt as though it was maybe dragging on for too long with some of its certain character side plots as well as its themes. Also, the clashing of these themes brought on a clashing of tones for me, where the movie was either A, the silliest display of visual gags, that of a child whimsicality, or B, some of the most serious commentary on actual family issue dramas that I'm sure many people who are watching this movie can relate to. Alongside the multiple themes the script is telling, the final act of the movie felt as if they were multiple climactic endings between the protagonist as well as the supporting characters or the family relatives of the main character. I was just telling myself, okay, can we keep this going? Can we continue here, please? Can we just keep it rolling? My ADD and ADHD mind is going crazy right now. If these final conclusive segments were cut down a bit, both in the script or in the theatrical cut, it would have flowed way better for me. I know the intentional approach to juggle these two elements, dark comedy with serious drama, it's difficult and it's not going to stick and land for everybody. I think that was the case for me, where some scenes certainly landed with me while some scenes missed the mark for me. Therefore, I couldn't get too invested into either spectrum as opposed to a movie wanting to commit to one side or the other. I'm sorry I grew up in a happy household where both sides of my family were very accepting and open to any different life paths I took compared to them. So again, I'm sure people who grew up in similar household environments like ones presented here in the movie, it's definitely going to tug at their heartstrings for sure. Just because it didn't resonate with me doesn't mean I know it's not going to resonate with other people. I know these filmmakers can certainly do it. They've done it for me already with their first feature movie. And I guarantee that many people I already know many people who have already been deeply impacted by this movie. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Even I'm able to clearly see on just how much passion and how personal this project is to the directors. And it's no surprise because the inspiration for the protagonist was inspired by the director's parents. If it is clear that you as a filmmaker are passionate and telling a very personal story to you, it is guaranteed to bring an audience, and it is guaranteed for us to also feel some sense of sympathy or empathy, or even just relate to it and just feel very emotional to it as well. So that's all I'm going to say for this one, keeping it short, keeping it vague, but I hope you hear me when when I say that these types of movies are far too less in between. I encourage studios to actually, not just A24, but other studios, to allow filmmakers to make movies that they really, really want to make, no matter how weird it gets. Because when those weird movies resonate home and really hit the landing for audiences, for you, it can be a life-fulfilling or life-changing moment for sure. And it certainly has for me. This is a message for the Daniels. They're not gonna see this shit. Daniel and Daniel, keep being weird. Keep being weird and make some of the weirdest things that we have ever seen, because you can definitely change lives for them. I would know. 8 out of 10, spectacular visuals and action, amplifying a fresh approach to storytelling with moments of prolonged pacing with its themes and characters.